So let's talk about a massive change that's happening right now deep inside the plumbing of global finance. It's kind of this quiet revolution, and it's being powered by a technology I know you've heard of, blockchain, but probably not in the way you're thinking. Let's dive in.
All right, to really get what's going on, you have to start with this huge contradiction, this weird tension that's playing out right at the top of Wall Street between two of its absolute biggest players. So, in one corner, you have Jamie Dimon, the head of JPMorgan Chase. He has been, for years, one of the biggest and loudest critics of crypto. I mean, he's compared Bitcoin to smoking, called it basically worthless. You get the picture. He's not a fan. A very clear, very public stance, right? But then, on the other side of the street, you have BlackRock, the biggest asset manager on the planet, and they're doing the complete opposite. They just launched a brand new fund called BUIDL, and they put it directly on the public Ethereum blockchain. So they are jumping into the very world Dimon is warning everyone about. So what's the deal? Is this just a simple disagreement? One guy hates crypto, the other guy likes it? Well, no, it's way more interesting than that. The secret is that they're both laser-focused on the exact same thing. And it's not Bitcoin. The real story here, the thing that has all of Wall Street buzzing, is the technology underneath it all, tokenization. Okay, so to crack this puzzle, we have to get on the same page about what this word, tokenization, actually means. Because honestly, once you get this concept, everything else just kind of clicks into place. You know, at its heart, tokenization is actually pretty straightforward. All it is creating a digital version, a digital twin, of a real-world asset and putting it on a blockchain. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine you take the paper deed to your house and you turn it into a super secure, one-of-a-kind digital certificate that proves you own it. The house is still the house, but the proof of ownership is now digital.
And here's why that's a huge deal. It changes where that official record is kept. So instead of being locked away in some private database at a bank, the blockchain becomes the golden record, the single source of truth that everyone can see. It's this shared, super secure public ledger that says, hey, this person owns this thing. Period. So why? Why go through all this trouble? Why are giants like BlackRock and JPMorgan pouring millions into this tech? Well, it's because it promises to fix a massive, ancient problem that's been gumming up the works in our financial markets for decades. Okay, so right now, our whole system runs on this rule called T+2 settlement. It sounds technical, but it just means trade date plus 2 business days. When you sell a stock, or any security, the money doesn't actually officially land in your account for 2 whole days. Think about that. You hit sell on a stock on Monday. All day Tuesday, your money is just out there in limbo, stuck in the pipes of the financial system. It's not until sometime on Wednesday that the cash is finally yours, free and clear. That 2-day lag creates all sorts of risk and keeps literally trillions of dollars tied up and unproductive. This is the magic trick of tokenization. Because the assets are now digital tokens, trades can settle almost instantly. We're talking about going from a 2-day wait down to just a few seconds. The asset goes one way, the payment goes the other, and bam, it's done, instantly. This is a total game changer. It frees up all that locked capital and slashes the risk that something goes wrong during that 2-day waiting period. Okay, so everyone wants things to be instant, right? That's the easy part. The hard part, and where the big debate is really happening, is how we get there. And this is where the financial world is splitting into 2 different camps. And the whole debate really boils down to this: permissionless versus permissioned blockchains. A permissionless or public blockchain, think Ethereum, is like a public park. Anyone can come in, anyone can build on it. It's totally open and decentralized. A permissioned or private blockchain is more like a members-only country club. A central group, like a bank, controls the guest list. They decide who gets in and what the rules are. It's all about control. And you can see these 2 philosophies playing out right here. BlackRock's BUIDL Fund, that's in the public park, right on Ethereum. It's a pretty bold statement of trust in that open network. But then you have JPMorgan's Onyx platform. That's firmly in the private club. And that's where a lot of the big banks are starting. Because, well, they like being the ones in charge of the guest list. But, and this is a huge but, you can't just rewire the entire global financial system without introducing some serious new risks. And regulators are starting to sound the alarm, saying, hey, wait a minute, let's think about what could go wrong here. The Financial Stability Board, which is kind of a global watchdog for this stuff, is pointing to a few big worries. Things like liquidity mismatch, which basically means your token might look super easy to sell, but the actual real-world thing it represents is locked up tight.
And because these systems are so automated, a market crash could trigger a terrifying cascading wave of automatic sell-offs.
Let me give you a really concrete example of how this gets scary. Token markets, they never sleep. They're 24/7. But the stock market, it closes on Friday. So imagine there's a panic over the weekend. A massive sell-off could happen in the tokenized version of a fund, a total bank run, while the market for the actual stocks and bonds inside that fund is completely closed. You could have a full-blown crisis before traders even get their coffee on Monday morning.
So where does that leave us? You've got this incredible promise of a faster, cheaper financial system on one side, and these pretty terrifying new risks on the other. What's the endgame here?
Well, let's just talk about the money for a second, because wow, the Boston Consulting Group estimates that the market for tokenized assets could hit 16 times trillion dollars by 2030. No, that's not a typo. Trillion, with a T. When there's that much money on the table, you can bet the banks are going to work pretty hard to figure this out. And this is the engine that's driving that huge number. It all comes back to these core promises, making the system way more efficient by settling trades instantly, opening up new investments to more people, and giving everyone a crystal clear, real-time view of who owns what. That's the powerful idea that's fueling this whole quiet revolution. So we're left with this huge trillion-dollar question. As we race from a two-day system to an instant one, are we building a financial system that's stronger, fairer, and better for everyone? Or are we just building a much faster, more automated way to trigger the next global financial crisis? That is the question that all of Wall Street is trying to answer right now.